Hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I'm reaching out to all of you beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And what a beautiful day. A lot of people are coming out at this park, and they got their kayaks, and they're bringing their families out. They're going into the water. Nobody's really at the playground right now. It's a little too hot to go there. So anyway, come on, get out, get out in nature somewhere, bring your family, your friends, someone, or bring yourself. You do what I do. I bring myself. So anyway, I love you all. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and leave Starlight a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you could share my videos with your family, your friends. Let's see. I'm trying to think of a dinosaur or an alien. Why not? There's aliens out here. Shh, they don't want you to know that. So yes, you could share my videos with an alien. And also you could check out my playlist. Plus, you could find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that's Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. I love you all, and thank you so much for those of you, you know who you are. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, giving me a thumbs up, or even leave me a comment down below, or even sharing my videos. Thank you. So now, okay, this is part 3. Do you believe in aliens? So you really need to watch 1 and 2 before you watch part 3. So I am so sorry today is that Starlight is learning different things, and sometimes my Wi-Fi connection is not really that great. So my video from yesterday, it's been made. It's just I've been having some technical problems and Wi-Fi problems. So please be patient with me. The video has been made yesterday. Starlight's learning new things. And anyway, today, where I left off yesterday is I was talking about the shower, and how I did clean the shower room at the hospital, but I did everything backwards. And then when I got done with the shower, I walked through the hall, and the lady that I felt like was the leader to their, like their spaceship, was walking through the hall, and she said, "You did everything backwards." And I was trying to figure out what did she mean? And, because like I said in part 2, is that I ended up cleaning up my body, and then I cleaned the shower and the walls and all that stuff, because I don't like to go in other people's stuff in the shower, and that's where I ended, where people do a lot of weird things in showers, don't they? We are not, women and men, it doesn't matter who you are, but some strange things happen in showers. So Starlight wanted to make sure people pee in showers, people do other things in showers. So I was wondering, how the heck did this lady know, like I said in part 1 and 2, that they could see you, they know what you're doing behind closed doors. And that's how it ended, is like, you think you have privacy. I laughed my ass off. Privacy Act? There's no privacy. In the Bible it says, and I don't know if I'm going to word it perfect, but the eyes of God, or the eyes of the Lord, are everywhere, So no matter what you think you can get away with behind closed doors, or, you can go in your closet. A lot of people are, they're not really being themselves by being in a closet and pretending to be someone and they're not. God, it's already known, whether you can hide shit, you think you're hiding shit, you can't hide nothing, absolutely nothing. So anyway, now, so that I was proving to you that they can see. I knew that they were watching me in the room, in my bedroom at the hospital. I knew it. I felt it. just like what was going on in my apartment. That's how I ended up. That's why I'm living in my car. Someone was watching me through my devices, my flat screen TV, and my phone. You know, had all my passwords, and on my laptop. Everything in my phone was tapped into in my house. My all the technology, equipment, any devices, and there's a story on that. If you gotta watch the spiritual awakening videos, that's where you're going to get these stories of how I ended up getting in the hospital. And I right now I cannot remember the name of those videos, that video that goes with this story here, but it was in 2023 of when this story happened. So now I told you in the beginning, and I think part two is there was something strange going on in the bedroom that they put me in, where when I first got in the room, when I was there by myself, I was like I said, there's like a spaceship outside of the window, and I was, there's beings coming through in the window. Now, oddly, and I told you how I liked cleaning. So Starlight was I'm like a, I don't know what the heck. I'm not like the CEO. Well, I don't know. There's people that wants things spotlight. I'm not that type. I just like right now. I'm actually sitting on a blanket. I don't want to sit on this bench when somebody else sat there. So I have to always have a blanket out in public. I have to sit on a blanket. And now in the restaurant, that's a different story. I don't bring a blanket with me everywhere like that, but outside I do. So so in that room that I was cleaning up in, it was weird. I knew I was being watched. So Starlight was like, yeah, I'm going to be a really good cleaner. So I was getting all kinds of weird shit was going on. I was also, the other thing is that the shades, not all the shade pieces, there are a bunch of big shades that were hanging from the top, and they had a piece to actually, yeah, these were clips. They clipped into the top of the the shade area, the shade equipment or whatever, and so they were all broken. See, this was another test, is for Starlight to, and I never fixed shades before. I never did any of this, but I'm a misfix-it. I know how to, I know how things work, somehow or another I can fix things without even, it'd be my first time. So these shades, they had a little turn thing like the little shades in your house, but this was huge big shades because of big huge window. And Starlight realized when, I in the morning I wanted it wide open so the sun would come in so I can meditate and sit there with the sun coming in. And so that's what I was doing, and that's why I wanted to clean the window and all this stuff, get the shades working properly, because some of them were missing. They were laying on the heater, so Starlight's like, this was a test, is that I was in there to clean it all up, and the ones that were on the heater is to put them back where they belong. That way at nighttime, I like it dark at night. I don't like any light in my bedroom space when I sleep. So anyway, I was doing all this stuff, and I was going crazy. Not really crazy, but I was like cleaning. And so I kept on going back and forth in the bathroom, making sure no light got in the bathroom. Rinse out that washcloth, get some more soap, and wash that window, clean it all up. I was standing on the heater. The door was, I don't think in there, I think that what they told me is that I had to keep the door open. I couldn't have the door shut. They needed to see what I was doing. So even if the door was open or shut, they could see what I'm doing in that room. So I was standing up on the heater, wiping at the very top of the window, making sure, because Starlight did house cleaning for years. And as I was doing this, I never knew it. But like I said, where people were coming in the first night I got there, is that exact space on the glass of the hospital, there was, now it didn't cover the whole entire window. That is what's freaky about this. It was like a portal that was right through the glass in the room. That's all I could think of. It's like a portal. You know, you can't see the portal, but Starlight, it's like I found a portal in the room. And so I was cleaning the window, doing such a great job, and I wiped down, and then my nail caught into something, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" You know. So then I realized I'm like, "What the heck? There's, I want the sun to come in." So there was like thin I have seen this in other places where they try to put things on the glass, so then like in your car, tinted windows, like, so it was like this kind of stuff, but it was a perfect shape of a circle, right, exactly at the same spot that I was assisting beings coming in through the window. I mean, come on now. I am not making this shit up. Nobody can do such a good job on, like, coming up with this. I was like, wow, this is really messed up. It was a big, huge circle of like tinted stuff, you know, why in a circle shape, And that's exactly where I was actually assisting them to coming in through the UFO to come in the hospital. And I didn't see nobody though. That's the funny thing. But I was at a heightened state, like my intuition, like, because I'm part alien, like I knew there was a UFO side outside of this hospital. I knew that there was beings coming in and coming in through that freaking hole that I didn't even understand at the first time that I was in the room having them coming in, you know? This is like a sci-fi freaking alien movie for real here. And so I was like, I want the sun to shine in. That way in the morning when I meditate, I got plenty of, that way I'm observing the sun because you really can't go outside. So I grabbed a hold of that and I was like, ugh. I mean, it took my whole body weight. And it was like a plunger effect, Once I got that baby and I'm like peeling it, nobody knew. They let me do this. I don't know why they did, because I know I was being watched. I was like, hey, look at this. I'm a great investigator in here. I discovered the portal on this. It would have been weird. I mean, like, for tinted plastic, on the window, you would think the whole entire glass, it was huge. 3 parts of a, big, huge window in my bedroom. And you would have thought that the whole entire thing, why just a big, huge circle, you know, there? That's my whole point. And that's exactly where I was having these beings come in. Even though I couldn't see them, I knew that they were there. So I start pulling it off, and I mean, I was like, who knows how long they had this on there. And I finally got, and it was like a plunger effect. I was like, and so then I was like wiping that off, because that was actually dusty. And then the second layer that I was pulling off, somebody caught me, one of the workers outside, one of the staff. So I believe this hospital, now that I'm talking about it, I believe this is like a hospital where they got the hospital built, but then aliens started getting hired to work there, and they just were hiring more aliens to work at this hospital. So I don't know, because the guy that cleaned the bathroom, I don't think he was an alien. I think he just was an employee that just, they didn't need an alien to clean the bathroom, he was just probably a regular man, because he looked at me like I was nuts to tell him that ah you're supposed to have the light off in there. You're not supposed to have the light on. He just looked at me like, but he knew he couldn't say nothing because he's just a cleaner, But he, so anyway, when I was trying to take the second layer off that portal, one of the staff, and then one of the big guys, like the guy that actually told me that I had all these tests to pass in there, that told me I had all these tests that I had to pass, he ended up coming into the room with me. And I was like, wow, yeah, look at it. They got this, this plastic. I'm trying to help you guys because I'm trying to get the sun in here. And he's like, oh, you're not supposed to take that off. And I'm like, oh, whoopsie. So I went a little, but I found it. See, that was a part of the test. I found this. I wasn't supposed to, like find it, but my intuition, my gut was helping me to find things and understand things that I didn't know. So, in that room, like I said, I was doing the shades. I was able to fix all the shades and get them all to work magically. There's a trick to it's kind of funny, I'm going backwards a little bit because I forgot this, but the stick thing with the big shades is that I didn't know nothing about this, but what it is, you crank it, 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 and then they all turn, like kind of counterclockwise, and you crank it, crank it, crank it, crank it until it clicks, click, and then to fix it, because we're all messed up. People have been messing with these shades, energy. That's why I was wiping them down. It's all this toxic energy all over in the room. So then, after you click, 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 all the way to end, then you got to crank it, crank it, crank it, crank it, crank it, crank it, counterclockwise, and then it clicks. And then I was adjusting it and I fixed them all. So now when I turn it, they all did exactly what they were supposed to do. And when I crank, 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 crank and closed it, they did. Now I got it fixed. So that was a test that Starlight passed. And the other thing I got to mention about the bathroom, since I'm in this bedroom, is that the reason why I believed Starlight was being naughty when I went to number 1 and number 2 in this toilet. You got to watch number 2. If you did not number 2, like number, taking a shit, but part 2, you got to watch part 2 to understand what I'm talking about here. If you did not watch part 2, you're not going to make sense of this at all. And I don't want to repeat the whole thing. But when I was going to the bathroom and they told me not to ever have that door open and, well, not to have any light in that room. So I had to go number, in the morning sometime, I had to go number, 1 and 2, and so the reason why Starlight was being so bad with that toilet and laughing, because it is kind of funny. We're kings and queens, and the joke is on us because, there's people that call your toilet their throne. Well, that's how the devil, he screwed us all over by, taking our power away and giving us a toilet for our throne. So anytime I went to the bathroom, I thought of the devil, and I was like, ha ha ha, you gave me a freaking toilet for my throne. I'm getting my throne back. I'm taking my power back. So every time I went in that bathroom, I was pretending like the devil was down in the toilet, because he gave me, a throne to be my throne, a toilet to be my throne. So Starlight's like, shit on you. That's what Starlight, I didn't explain that. I realized that is why Starlight, I realized that when I was in my apartment, is that, my power was taken away and I had to get my power back. And because this is what has gone on in my life, that's what society has done. And Matrix, that we're in the simulation Matrix, is that they a lot of shit has happened. A lot of people like Starlight, I've gone through hell in my life. And what that does is it drains you and it makes you small because you've gone through so much. So Starlight's working on taking her power back, and that is by, using my voice, by saying what I need to say, telling people to back off, if I need to, so taking your power back so you can, get your throne and your crown that you deserve, because we're all kings and queens here, and that they've been lying to us. They've been keeping the frequency low, the vibration low, and that is, why Starlight was being so bad with the toilet bowl in part number 2 on this video, is because, that is what really, in reality, that is what has happened to all of us, is that they distract us, they lied to us, they deceived us to trip us up and to keep us low, and to have the system to work a certain way that you would never be able to make it here, because the frequency and the vibration is so low, you can't live off of that. So I could say a whole lot more, but I can't. So now I'm going to go back to the puzzles and what happened with the puzzles. So, like, that was the thing that I worked on through the whole entire time that I was in that hospital, is that I needed to figure out, make sure every box, who knows how many boxes, there was a lot of, there was a lot of boxes, different size boxes, there could have been a box that said 500 pieces of puzzle, another one, 1,000, and, all these different size boxes, different pictures on them, And so what ended up happening at the end result of Starlight spending that whole time, and then I told you I had a separate table, and that is where my puzzle with a beautiful house, and it was beautiful. It was a place at Starlight in a country setting, perfect for Starlight, and the beautiful flowers that were around and different other things that were in that picture. Is that as I was making that puzzle, there was like I had it all, like the whole um, edging was all done, and people was, oh wow, look at her go, she's really doing an amazing job on this. I was doing a kick-ass job, putting this puzzle together. So then there's times when you're doing a puzzle that everything's fitting in, you're finding the pieces, and then there's like this, a puzzle piece that is you got all the pieces, and then there's this one puzzle piece right here that the piece is not there. I mean, like, I went through all the pieces over and over and over trying to find, because you know what, there is no sense in me finishing this puzzle if all the pieces are not there. That means I don't know how many pieces are there. So I just left that puzzle there because it's like, okay, I went through all the pieces in every single box, but once I was on that puzzle, that was a part of the test, is to realize all the pieces are not in this box. And Starlight went through all the other box during this whole, so I had boxes that I was like, okay, I had all these little piles of pieces that, and now I got to figure out, okay, I got like, say like 10 little piles of pieces of unknown pieces. Now I got to look at every single cover top and see if any of those pieces belong to any of those puzzles. So my end results was that there was big ass piece puzzles that didn't go in any of these boxes. So there was extra puzzles. There's, different puzzles. I was looking at the pieces. I'm like, there's no, I was looking at the pictures on the puzzles, and I'm thinking, there is no puzzle that has that picture. I looked at them all. There's that doesn't even, that's another, these are another puzzles that don't belong to any of these boxes, So, so it was amazing. That was the end results, is that, and then they had other kind of puzzles that was there. I had to figure out what that game was, what was the whole sense of that. It wasn't like a jigsaw puzzle, but it was different kind of puzzles, and I had to figure out what was the game, what was the whole thing to do with that puzzle. So that was the end result, is not all the pieces. There's a lot of extra pieces that didn't go in any of those boxes, and they didn't even have a box, like I said, the shapes were different, the size of the puzzle pieces were different, so they had in a lot of different extra pieces of puzzles that didn't even go in any of those boxes. So that was a test. So, and then once I got it all done, bam, I passed all the tests, and then they came to me and let me know that I could leave. So I never had to finish that whole puzzle because the piece was missing. So it was a good thing that I found that out, the way I was, putting it together. There's a mindset, like a way of, putting a puzzle together. And I don't know how anybody else would have put that same puzzle together if they would have done it the same way. But when you do jigsaw puzzles, you always want to work on the outside first and work your way in. And always, like, if you're working in the sky, you want all the sky colors, all the things with the sky. If you're working with the grass, you want, find all the grass pieces and all this and that. And you do all those first, that's how Starlight does jigsaw puzzles, is find the obvious stuff first and then work your way to getting the other pieces in. So there could be a certain, way and order to work on a puzzle that, bam, I realized there's a missing piece. I'm done. I'm not gonna waste my time trying to put this together now because there's a piece missing. It's not here. So anyway, that is my true story of my one of my experiences with aliens in human form, to actually meet them. And there was another part on this, but because of time, I'm just gonna end right here. But those were the different tests. I did meet the lady, though, that was the head of all these aliens in there. She was like the leader, the whole pack. I have actually sat and talked with her in a room, and I'll tell you what, talk about goosebumps. I like, it was all set up for only her and I. And I'll just explain it really quick. Is that they had groups in that hospital. Anytime that you go into a psych hospital, you always want to jump into the groups because that's how you're going to get out quicker if you get involved. And so they had a spiritual class, and nobody was interested except for Starlight. I wanted to go into that class, and it's about spirituality, and nobody else went in there. And that they purposely had this set up. They knew nobody else wanted to go in that group, so they purposely did this so I can be alone with like the captain of all these aliens in this hospital. So it was a one-on-one, and that's when she got to talk to me and say some stuff. So it was on in that room. I'll tell you what, is it was quite interesting to be in a room in a space with her alone. And it was like, whoo. So it was amazing adventure. It really was. Like I would love to have more of those times like that. It is, it's a thrill for me. Other people, it fucks them up so bad. They mentally, they get disturbed the rest of it. I do know somebody that they went through some crazy stuff like Starlight did. They were going through a spiritual awakening at the same time I did, and they have never been the same since. They didn't handle it. I was able to go through it and to tell the story, and it was the greatest experience that I've ever experienced in my life. Even though at the time I can't really say that. At the time it was really crazy. So I hope you really enjoy these true stories, and please share these videos. These are videos that, all my videos I would love you to share, but when it comes to aliens, these are really important because there's people, they think that they're going to look green and big old blue, big eyes and all the, no, that's the Hollywood crap, no. Even though I put little characters on my, it's just, how am I going to put like an alien person on I could just put myself out there. And they do have alien DNA blood types. So check that out. So anyway, I love you so much. I love telling these stories. They are real crazy. So I love you so much. And you can give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget, you can leave me a message down below, beep, beep, beep. And you could share this video with your family, your friends. Some aliens. Yes, and more aliens. Yes, sure, they don't mind me. The aliens want me to tell you because they're here to help planet Earth and the people, because they can't just come here on their UFO and land. They got rules and laws that they got to go by. That's why they come through a portal through a female and enter in that way to come in here. And then they got to remember who they are, why they're here. They got to come into a human form to come in here to be able to help this planet out. So they don't mind that Starlight is telling you this story, but there is a dark force out there, and they come in the same way, through a portal to come in here, and they're the opposite. There's a light force and a dark force, and they're here, and it is crazy, the stuff that's going on, and right in front of you, the truth is right in front of you, but a lot of times people believe everything Hollywood and the government tells you that you can't even see it because it's right in your face. So the truth will piss you off. The truth will set you free, but it will piss you off first, and then you'll be happy later on. And, so anyway, I love you. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.